My first question to you is about your father.
He has moved from a science background to a commerce background, cleared his CA in his first attempt.
Tell me like three unsexy businesses that you feel.
Most unsexy is insurance. The fundamentals of consumption and the fundamentals of business marry very well together.
You're saying these three businesses. One is tea, insurance,
Insurance.
and bio. How big is this adult diaper category?
Somewhere around 1,000 crores.
If you were starting a startup today, what are the first three steps that you would take?
The simplest thing is actually the first step, and I burnt my fingers, right? Firstly, go do research. It is shocking to me how so many people don't do the first step of Googling their idea. Saying, pehle Google to karo yaar. And step 2 then becomes a lot of times what you perceive as problems are not true problems.
One of the things that you guys have done well is your marketing campaigns and your ad campaigns. So, what is the logic behind this? And then getting Radhika after etc.
Radhika's lines of tip tip, kabhi aise lagta hai pura nali khol diya hai. Exact lines from research.
Do you see the future of legacy brands, being a little bit disturbed or something, who have built solely on distribution?
Interesting question. If the legacy brand is strong enough, they will adapt to new distribution paradigms. Your ego is not your amigo.
Does diaper manufacturing cause pollution?
No.
But when you dispose a diaper, does that cause pollution?
Yes, diapers are a significant contributor to landfill. In the UK, for example, they've made roads which are made from used diapers and sanitary napkins.
Today, we have Karthik Johari, the promoter of Noble Hygiene, India's leading diaper brand for both babies and adults. An MBA in marketing, investor, and one of India's 40 under 40, Karthik is redefining what it means to build a successful business in an overlooked category. In this episode, you will learn how to scale a startup with zero marketing budget, how to build an unsexy billion-dollar business, and we'll break down marketing and growth hacks for you. Let's get started. Welcome, Karthik. Nice to have you here on the first episode of season 3 of Level Up with this new outlook, new logo, new branding, everything. So, as I told you, I think before we started, we are really excited to have you here. We've seen your episodes, etc. And the conversationalist that you are. So really good and really glad to have you here.
No, such a pleasure and privilege to be here, and on the first episode, no less.
Yes. So my first question to you is about your father. And I think we had spoken on the call also, that he is the first generation entrepreneur and then you stepped into this business. So want to know about your father, Mr. Kamal Johari, right? I think he came to Mumbai with probably nothing in his pocket and, the way he started this business. Tell us something about his journey and how it led to the beginning or the roots of Noble Hygiene.
It's a beautiful story that he narrates over 35 minutes, right? And classical first generation entrepreneur story. Came here with absolutely nothing, one suitcase and a bedding. Finished his CA. But from his early days in Banaras, he always knew that, kabhi na kabhi kuch to factory ek khada karenge. We don't know what we will manufacture. But I want to ensure that we get there somewhere. And he failed his doctor's entrance exam, missed out by a mark. So before he even jumped into that, he said, okay, and we're from Banaras, so BHU campus, he took around. And during the medical facilities tour, I think he realized two things. First is hygiene. He said, my God, all this blood spewing and pus and bodily fluids, and like this is going to be a very different situation from what I imagined myself. He's a neat freak. And the second thing he realized is that all doctors' work is non-scalable. Like, आप जो भी कर सकते हो आपके दो हाथ से आपको करना रहेगा, right? There are rare examples of ones who have gone on to set up companies, hospitals, institutions. But the majority of doctors still have their own practices and you're constrained thus in that manner. So he's then decided, he's like, yeah, if this is not appealing, let me go figure what else. And the man that he is moved from a science background to a commerce background, cleared his CA in his first attempt.
Wow.
So then after becoming a chartered accountant, he took stock of where he was. I think he figured, he's like, okay, manufacturing. He was the oddball even in his CA, right? Because all CAs, you want to sit in a blue-collar environment, white-collar environment, get coffee brought to you, etc. He said, nahi, mere ko aap IV pe bhejo. I want to do industrial audits. So he had seen 15, 16 manufacturing facilities already. So then when he took stock, he's like, all right, my dream of setting up something. He's like, manufacturing, I've seen a fair amount. Finance, I'm a CA, so I understand a fair bit of it. It's like, what is missing? And what was missing was distribution. So at that point in his career, he started taking a few distribution opportunities, right? So we started with a company called Beiersdorf, now folded into Nivea, so Hansaplast, Nivea, etc. We were the first mother warehouse in charge managers for Samsonite. We were one of the first professional distributors for Pepsi in South Bombay when Pepsi was doing its entire RTM revamp. So after all of those experiences and learnings kept coming in, one last company he ended up working for was called Shogun Diapers, which owned the brand Snuggie. Though that association lasted only for 3 months, I think in that 3 months was enough for him to realize that, okay, diapers, not many people in the space, population is going to continue to keep growing, and the sole Indian manufacturer is now selling the brand. So, interesting area to jump into. And 3 months later, Noble Hygiene was born. Noble
This is
Hygiene
in which year?
in late 99 and 2000. So the company, I think, was established in December 99. Both our brands were established in Jan 2000. So all within the same time frame. So the company, friends, and Teddy, all of them are now 25 years old.
Hmm. Got it. Got it. Very interesting. And this is a very unsexy business or a non-sexy business, so to say, right? Manufacturing, traditional distribution, go in the market, pick up your bag and, go to the distributor, sell your product,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Very unsexy business.
yeah.
In this world of entrepreneurship that we are today living in, where people and entrepreneurs are chasing technology, AI, machine learning, etc. People are just talking about, robos and all that stuff, right? Uh, Tell me like three unsexy businesses that you feel, are the next big thing in India or could be the next big thing in India.
Three unsexy businesses. Like one of the most, and there's been enough spoken about it, right? Most unsexy is insurance. But look at the potential that insurance as a sector has. And there's been enough spoken about by everyone saying how underpenetrated we are, etc., etc., right? So the fundamentals of consumption and the fundamentals of business marry very well together. So insurance straight off the top of my mind, I feel, right? One of the examples that we were just talking about, even before this, something like tea. Now, from
Okay.
across spectrums, right? Whether that's a Chayos as a QSR format that people are talking about, whether that's a Vadham Teas, which is a
Okay.
sister investee company from the Sixth Sense portfolio for us, or whether one of my failed startup investments, which was Brewhouse, right? Classical business, again, consumption linked. Everyone, no one tends to think about the things that are right in front of them, right? Everyone wants to either iterate or they go far left field saying AI, ML, I'm going to build something out. But the true fundamentals is where so much potential lies. I think I was interacting with a founder recently. He was starting one of the few ops in India which were making biomaterials for implants. Not the sexiest business. But you think about the number of fractures, hip surgeries, knee replacements that are consistently going on, the number of operations that India has been conducting on a global scale. We're leaders there. So, how much of a requirement there is for high functioning uh, modular I wouldn't say equipment, right? But aids that go into your body as replacements, as augmentations, and such a beautiful business to survive in.
But someone has to make that, right?
Someone has to make that. Someone
manufacture
has to
that.
do the research on the biomaterials. Someone has to iterate and make that better. Someone has to manufacture that, then work with hospitals, doctors, distribute that. So again, a classically unsexy business, but the potential is sky high.
Hmm. So you're saying these three businesses. One is tea, insurance, and
Insurance,
biomolecule. What did you say?
implants, bio implants. Yeah,
Bioimplants.
that's the
Okay.
word that I was using.
So manufacturing and then of course distribution of bioimplants.
Absolutely.
Someone has to do. Are people doing?
Manufacturing,
Of course, tea business. There are multiple, as you named. Insurance. Of course, there are multiple, but it is
correct.
still underpenetrated. I
Correct.
agree. So there is huge
Huge
growth
potential.
and potential that is there. Bio implants is something I'm hearing for the first time. It is,
Okay.
yeah. So I don't know if something like that exists in India.
Oh, it
I'm
does.
not
It
sure.
does. It
Okay, it
does.
does.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are multinationals that are selling their products here. There are a couple of Indian companies that are innovating. There are a couple of based out of Singapore who have patented some new solutions. So all of these businesses which are inherently research and science driven, and manufacturing heavy, these are some excellent places to be in. And manufacturing heavy itself is taking on very different connotations now. Everyone's going into modular manufacturing, whether you're fragmenting your manufacturing on a geographical basis, so you're closer to market, or
Hmm.
lowering just the risk and the capex deployment, or you're doing modular manufacturing in the kind of things you make and are shipping out. And tremendous potential across all of these. One of my companies which we were talking about, the robos one, right, the cleaning, again, modular manufacturing, built it out themselves, worked on the robots, designed, patented, and these are phenomenal things. If you talk to a classical guy on the street saying कि यार साफ सफाई का robot बनाते हो, बोले अरे दुनिया में we know of a Roomba, or how is this cool, and people don't really tend to put a spotlight on it.
Hmm.
But some of the most defensible and profitable companies are usually unsexy, right? Look at how many people jumped into the cosmetics space, or how many people would jump into a classical consumer, like a snacks space, right? The startup graveyard is littered with companies, and still three new pop out every year.
Yeah.
But the ones which are unsexy, no one really gives much thought to them. And I think that's a huge disservice. That's where true potential lies as an investor and as an entrepreneur.
Hmm. Makes sense. You use the word defensible. I think if we come back to this diaper market, right?
Yes.
I think diaper business has that defensibility, that profitability quotient, sustainability and scalability quotient all together. And it has been growing, I think, over 22% odd in the last
Correct.
8 to 10 years, the diaper market. What do you think has led to this growth in the diaper industry?
So, baby or adult?
Let's take both.
Let's take both. Um, s-
We can
some
start with baby.
some commonalities apply to both, right?
Okay.
Education is increasing. Disposable income, though soft now, over if you look at a 10-year CAGR, it has consistently been increasing. And all of this is giving more and more rise to disposable hygiene. And diapers are firmly at the center of this space. We have a stat from China that we draw upon, and we are very excited for it. There is a true expenditure on personal hygiene happens when your per capita disposable income goes beyond 3000 USD. India is where now? 1900, 1800 ish.
1800, yeah.
Correct?
Under 2000.
Under 2000.
Yeah.
So we haven't even reached the inflection point. And you can imagine categories that have already been growing at a 20% plus CAGR. So we have a very long, multi-decadal perspective on our own business. It's because we understand that true growth is still yet to come, especially on the adult diaper side of things, and even baby diapers, right? Again, classically unsexy business. And I'd like to softly push you back on the profitability bit, because there are very few industries which function on as slim margin as diapers, right? It's a game of scale, pure scale. Even our machines can throw out a few 100,000 pieces every few minutes. It's a very fast-paced, intensive process. So because of all of this, it will continue to grow. So, like I said, disposable income linked, education awareness linked. But truly, we are waiting for people to have more wallet size, and that's going to cause a huge dramatic inflection point very soon.
How do you think this wallet size can increase when you want a consumer to invest in his or her personal hygiene?
Correct.
What are your take? Any tip, one or two, that can help increase this wallet size, or that would lead to this increase in wallet size, which would eventually make a consumer invest in his or her personal hygiene?
Correct. I mean, there's nothing much that we as individuals or even as big companies can do, right? This is a systemic change and a systemic effort which will be required from all sides of the table. But I think the most no-brainer logic applies here. Yeah? I mean, people need to be healthy, people need to be educated. And as long as both of those parameters are met, give them a fair amount of freedom, and people will people can do magic. And I'm not the first one to say about all the good companies that are coming out of India, all the excellent talent that exists in India. A lot of it is flying abroad now. lot of the biggest companies in the world are headed by Indians. So there is tremendous potential that exists here, right? But to break free of the daily grind, so as to say, right, there has to be a little bit more, how would I put this? Unlocking
Of wealth or of
of
income.
wealth, of opportunities,
Hmm.
and primarily, I believe, education and mobility.
Hmm.
That's where things come from.
So I have a take on this, which I keep talking to my team also about, that as a consumer, as an Indian consumer, I think we are um, a lot of our wealth or future wealth or current income is being little bit robbed off by way of taxes, and that is what is stopping that the this $3,000 inflection
Inflection
mark
point, yeah.
that you just spoke about. I think a lot of thing is being gone into taxes, GST, income tax, this tax, that tax,
And a levy of consumption
and a
taxes.
levy of consumption taxes. So a lot of thing is going out there for a end consumer, for a middle class person, if I have to talk. And if that gets reduced, though right now I think this budget we had a good step of getting
The base
the
bracket up.
base bracket up, the
Yeah.
exemption limit up till around 12 lakhs. There's no tax.
Yeah.
So probably this is a one good step
Absolutely.
towards what needs to be done further over the next 5 years to make sure
Absolutely.
that our per capita GDP touches that $3,000, $4,000 mark, which would make sure that people invest in the personal hygiene
Correct.
and other stuffs, of course.
Correct. Absolutely.
So I think that is one thing which requires to be done. But coming back to this adult diaper situation, right? Of course, this is a little bit of a stigma, a social stigma.
Very much.
Yeah. How does Noble Hygiene try to solve this on a larger scale? The social stigma that is there. What kind of stuffs that you have done or you plan to do now, which creates that awareness or just helps in solving the stigma?
Correct. Very simple answer, in fact. Hard to do. Which is my golden word even when I speak with my team or we talk about communications, right? Authenticity. Authenticity comes from being looped into your consumer's reality, about having the courage to reflect that reality, and about being open enough of absorbing that reality and then improving your product or improving your route to market or improving anything that you can do to add value back to them. And it is as simple as that.
Can you give an example? Like what any strategy that you have applied to make sure that this, at least at Noble Hygiene, when y'all are doing your marketing or sales, etc., y'all are being able to solve that social stigma.
No, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest things we did last year, right? Friends has been around now for 25 years. Still, adult diaper as a category penetration would be around 5%. Tremendous upside yet to go. And this is not even counting for that inflection point, right? So, one of the things that consistently kept coming up in research was affordability. Adult diapers are an expensive product. Each piece would cost somewhere around at MRP level 30 to 60 rupees based on what kind of variant you're going for. And if you're on the deeper end of the incontinence spectrum, you end up using 3 to 5 diapers a day. Quickly adds up, right? For a normal user, if you're talking about spending anywhere from 3 to 10,000 rupees a month on adult diaper usage, it's an astronomical amount. And it's truly not affordable for a large percentage of the country. So, one of the things that we kept coming back to is how do you pass on this benefit to the end consumer? How can you economize diapers even further so there is a boost in consumption? So, friends, last year in Noble Hygiene, under the ambit of our 25th year, we launched a consumer promo called Silver Jubilee, wherein a classical adult diaper pack available at 550 rupees for a pack of 10 was bought down to 350 rupees. 200 rupees discount, which is massive. And how did we do this? We took the help of one of the strongest people in the distribution ecosystem, which is our chemists, right? Now, because adult diapers have classically been a hospital and a surgical product, right? Pricing for surgical products is very, very skewed. Margins for the rest of the channel are very, very high. So, because this was a surgical spin-off, we've landed 20 years in the market where the final retailer is enjoying a super margin of upwards of 150, 200%. And we always maintain saying that at some point this has to come down to a normal FMCG norm. Keep a 30%, 40, 60, 80% margin. Aap rakho na. Earn on it. No one's saying no. But 200% margin, now that's ridiculous. And one of the other things that kept happening was Friends, because we've built this equity and we have tremendous amount of brand
Recognition.
recognition,
Yeah.
right? And top of mind awareness for Friends.
Yeah.
For anyone who's entered the category, whether it's a Chinese import or whether that's another Indian multinational home trying to expand into adult diapers, everyone has a single point strategy saying undercut Friends. So if we are in the market at an X price, they will tag themselves at 30 rupees, less 30, less 50, and try to build scale. But quality is not built in that manner. And this is a cash burn model. How long can you even sustain it? So what kept happening in this equation is, because they're landing, a retailer's landing Friends was the most expensive, and the MRP inflation was so high that invariably for everyone, they're like, Friends to sabse premium product hai. And then when the consumer walks in and asks for Friends, most chemists would then try to sell any other local brand because his earnings on that is even more than what he's earning
his
on
margin
Friends.
is much higher. Yeah.
Correct? 350%. It's insane. So he's pushing other brands. We are creating awareness. We have created the category. We have nationwide distribution and sales team. But someone else in every pocket is then taking away that delta. Which is why we reduced this 200 rupees from the chemist margin. It says, sirs, we have to take this brave step for our end consumers. You are earning a fair amount. And let us be honest, there's a reason even till now Amazon continues to sell baby diapers, even though they are volumetric and they burn money on it, because it's one of the stickiest products in the portfolio. The same thing applies at a chemist. कि आपका ग्राहक ऊपर नीचे जितने भी बार जाएगा वो डायपर रिप्लेनिश करने के लिए twice a month he's going to come back to you. And there you have an opportunity to upsell other medications, etc., which classically is consumer behavior. So we said, stop shanking him on his one necessity. And there are enough places for all of us to earn together if volumes end up picking up. Obviously, as first step, there was a tremendous amount of backlash, right? No one wants their margins to be dramatically halved. But eventually, when we started creating consumer awareness and demand, and when chemists started to realize that people are coming now and asking for Friends because they know that this is now available at a 350, 400 rupee price point, which is a tremendous amount. 600 to 400 is a 200 rupee delta. Then retailers woke up and said, chemists woke up and said, nahi chalo, ye sahi cheez hai. This is good for the industry, because after all, this is good for the end consumers. It's a beautiful story, even in sales that came out, right, with my Chennai city head, and we were in market together. And then the chemist called us to the back office. And then behind he says, sir, I can't talk about these things out in the open. We are very proud to support Friends. This is what you have done is phenomenal, because I've had an end consumer who came and who could not believe, because he was a regular Friends consumer. We gave the new price to him. And 200 rupees for a person who doesn't have the means means that 2-3 other medications are being subsidized immediately by this.
Correct.
And then the chemist said the gratitude and that look that I got from the end consumer. Like, you have taken the right step. People are not going to be happy, but don't change. Last with this. And it took us 9 months of a painful journey of scaling,
With the chemist.
doing local activations, doing local awareness campaigns. But finally, now that it's clicked, we are seeing a few other players in the category follow suit. So we are very proud to once again have unilaterally affected change for the entire category for the benefit of the end consumer.
How big is this adult diaper category?
Somewhere around 1,000 crores.
Okay, got it. Have you ever considered to, remove this or make awareness about adult diapers? Have you considered putting, free diapers in any public washroom to spread awareness or something like
It's complicated. A, because it's expensive. B, because public washrooms, pilferage, stealing. C, it's a hygiene product, right? So there is only an X amount of leeway you can give that I've locked it up in some vending machine, etc. or whatever. And lastly, sizing. Sizing becomes a massive issue with adult diapers, right? The most classical thing people compare it to is a sanitary napkin. Sanitary napkin has a spectrum of sizing, but as long as you know that you're in the zone of a XL or a double XL, you know that it will cover you. For an adult diaper, you need the hip fit, the thigh gap, everything to be accurate. So sizing and fitting is one of the most important things, which compounds my expense, because now I don't have to keep one product, right? For a sampling box for a new beverage brand, you keep 3 pieces. It works for everyone.
Yeah, it works for everyone.
I'll have to keep 3 variants in 3 sizes. I'm already up to 12 SKUs. You're talking about a volumetric product. Then one entire half the toilet will be occupied just by my diaper bottle, right? So it's a complex problem to solve, and people aren't really open to trials yet as well, right? The taboo about the category overshadows a lot of other attempts to do many things. So I think the first thing to break is to create more awareness. Let people talk about it in their living rooms. Saying, have you used this for your grandmother? क्या आपने दादाजी के लिए सोचा क्या घर पे इसकी जरूरत है कि नहीं? That is where change will happen. Sampling, etc., works when you want to accelerate a category post 15-20% penetration. Like I said, we're at what, 5? So it's going to take some time.
I think that's a valid point because I remember, when I was staying with my grandmother. Now we've moved out, but and she wears Friends, by the way. So, but it was very hard to convince her
Correct.
that Dadi, you'll have to wear this, and then my mother and chachis, etc. It was very hard to convince her that it is the need of the hour, you will have to do it. And she's now probably 93, around 93, 94, around, right? But even like 7, 8 years back when we had started pushing her to wear it, it was really very difficult. And but eventually she got it, and now she wears that regularly because she has to. But I understand there is a very big social stigma around this.
There's one, you can't, I'm chock full of consumer stories because we believe a lot in research, right? You won't believe the extreme end to which this horror can go. And to pull it down to the closest end, I have seen situations in my own family. हमारी तो घर की रोटी है यार. Everything runs because of this
This
business.
business.
And there is taboo and stigma in my own family, and accidents have happened in public settings.
Oh.
And it's just a step back in realization. In खुद के घर में it's so hard to affect change. Think about someone else, and when you then start to apply filters of affordability, filters of hygiene, filters of social stigma, oh, it's a tough nut to crack.
This product requires a lot of research. What kind of R&D do you guys do before you launch a new variant or a new product?
Okay. So the best analogy that I say is that running a diaper manufacturing facility is actually very close to running a kitchen,
Oh.
right? Because all kitchens across the world, I mean, let's talk about Indian homes, right? Your capex is the same. एक चूल्हा रहेगा, wok रहेगा, बर्तन भांडी एक टाइप की रहेगी. Your raw material, though in grades, but is fairly the same. Aloo, pyaz, tomato, garlic, same kind of RM, same kind of capex. The magic happens is with the recipe that you follow. And that is the same for the diaper industry. And it took me I've been in the business now for upwards of 11 years. But 3 years, 3.5 years in, and traveling across the world and being at different hygiene expos, meeting everyone, and everyone kept calling to their specs list as a recipe. And I kept thinking, I'm like, why in diaper industry do people keep calling it a recipe? What's this point? Eventually, then this analogy clicked. And because then with every manufacturer, there exists this ability for you to tweak the raw material to get the right blend of the product out. There are ways in which you can mix the fluff, you can mix the sap, the way in which you layer it, the grades of those that you use, the sizing construct, the shape of the core. All of that feeds into how the eventual diaper has to perform. And it's a very I mean, you started the conversation with Dad, right? And boss always used to say that diaper is the most complex product in all of FMCG to be sold at the most brutal price point possible. So I said, यार, of course, सबकी घर की अपनी घर की दाल सबको अच्छी लगती है. I'm sure there are more complex products out there. But now, after being so long in the business, after having seen manufacturing facilities across 3 continents, across various different industries, I can proudly come back and say that making diapers is truly something so unique and so different. And that's one of the reasons why, if you study globally, there are 3, 4 gigantic multinationals, and then every country would have 1, 2 strong local manufacturers. That's it. It's very different from other categories where you will have 100 players, 200 different players. It just doesn't work that way. Diaper making is an art and a science, and I think it's taken us 25 years, and we still don't consider ourselves masters, right? I think the Johari one thing that unites us is we like to learn something new every day, and this business keeps us on our toes.
What was a new thing that you learned in this week?
In this week, I learned the tremendous value of sperm whale vomit. And that was a very mind-blowing fact. And it's used in a lot of perfumes, and it's called liquid gold. And I said, yeah, I never really thought about it in this manner. So That was one of the new learnings of this week. What else? So many. I actually have a separate diary that I use, and I keep like 2 things every day. They go into it.
All right. Let's talk a little bit on entrepreneurship, right? Let's say that if you are starting a startup today, right? What are the first 3 steps that you would take?
3 steps or 3 things I would consider.
3 things you would consider, 3 initial steps that you would take to start a startup in today's time.
I'm going to leave the legal and all that aside.
Yeah, let's leave all that compliance-driven thing aside.
Correct. The simplest thing is actually the first step, and I burnt my fingers, right? Firstly, go do research. Invariably, there might be some company already doing what this idea that you've been thinking about for 3 months. It is shocking to me how so many people don't do the first step of Googling their idea. Saying, pehle Google to karo yaar. I'm sure, look at this wide world. There are billions of people out there, and there are at least 1 billion smarter people than you. And I say that even to myself.
Yeah, 100%.
How do you think you're so unique that you've come up with this idea for the first time? So first go Google. See कोई और कर रहा है कि नहीं. अगर हो रहा भी है, find a way if there is a way for you to iterate on
रात
top.
को
Make a
सपने में
better
आता है और
solution.
सुबह को हाँ ये करना है.
सुबह already company formation में public have jumped in, right? So step 1 is always research, and step 2 then becomes consumer research. A lot of times what you perceive as problems are not true problems. So speak with 100 different people across spectrum. Understand how acute is the problem for them, how desperate they are for a solution, and how much are they willing to pay for this solution. A classical problem in one of the companies I interacted with 2 weeks ago, solving for ironing of clothes.
Ironing of clothes. Okay.
Problem? Absolutely. Manual labor intensive? 100%.
बहुत ज़्यादा हाँ.
Every family that we know, at least one screaming match happens every week with the istri guy saying, "Ye kapda nahi aaya, this was lost, this is up and down. I give you 20 pieces, only 19 have come
19
back."
has come. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
the founder discovered that even with this business, there is a price point beyond which a consumer says, I am not going to change. I would rather work within my existing construct if I have to pay an extra delta to avail of a service, right? And we see that in e-commerce also, right? With the classical divide of quick com and e-com and general trade.
Correct.
Most people who shop on general trade, we see this with adult diapers as well very strongly. The guy who buys from the chemist has never looked it up on Amazon. And the person who's buying consistently from Amazon,
He does not come to the.
he does not care only about the chemist. He's like, why will I go to the chemist for adult diapers? I'm getting it home delivered, pack of 3, will be at a great price. So it's a mutually exclusive set. So because of them, their needs are different, right? And for them, the price point for a person to move his behavior from buying veggies from DMart versus to move to quick commerce, there is a delta there. And the quick com guys are, of course, at the very top of this game. But simple consumer research gives you all of these insights. And this came out of a conversation in my own office wherein I was questioning people saying, ki, sir, why are you not, you're in digital marketing and you're still going to DMart. What is the logic? Why are you not on Blinkit or why are you not on Big Basket? He said, yeah, at the end of it, I know my routine is set. I know where the product is. And if I'm going to save only 10-15 rupees, like, what is the point of having this entire new mechanism of ordering, figuring when it's arriving, this, that? Like, I'm happy where I am.
That is also one mindset.
That is also a mindset. Reality to change consumer behavior is insane. And then to come down to the third point, right? So first we've done
Research.
product, your idea research, validated it with end consumers. The third thing that I will always focus on and think about defensibility. I want to make sure that whatever I get into, 6 other people can't get into right behind me. So there has to be a uniqueness. There has to be a moat around what you're trying to build. Right? Mr. Vora from Sixth Sense, that is a beautiful line that he says. That when you burst in through the door, the first, sometimes you're the first in the room. Sometimes you're the first to get shot. So you have to make sure that your defense parameter is high enough ki 2-3 goli bhi lage, I'm strong enough to sustain, move on and then win. We are again littered with examples of companies who have been the first to space, made critical mistakes, and then post that there are guys who have learned from those mistakes and in 3 years have scaled and matched up to where they go. So it's always a mixed bag. But defensibility then becomes a very important factor.
How does one really check this, that, you know, whether this business will be defensible, whether this will have a strong moat?
Manufacturing.
Manufacturing.
That's where we come back to this, right?
Always.
Always. If you're, for example, again, a brand that I'm a fan of, consumer of, The Whole Truth, manufacture their products themselves. They need to? Not really.
They
but
can
they do.
outsource it.
They can outsource it. Why does Mama Earth have this huge, long tail end of competitors, right? Everyone from Wow Skins to the Minimalist, which now got sold to HUL, to a multitude of brands. Every single day I look and on performance marketing, every week there's some other guy trying to sell them.
every like on
Correct.
my Insta, it's just feeded
It's
with
just,
that.
it's full of it.
Yeah.
Because there is no defensibility. Because you can go to a contract manufacturer, get the same blend made. Even if someone has a patented blend, we as pragmatic operators understand you make a 1% tweak to it, patent is
Oh, yeah, na,
defunct.
yeah.
And bas nikal gaya. You can launch your own variation on it. So thus for me, defensibility becomes the most important thing. And defensibility doesn't necessarily have to come from manufacturing either, right? There are points of design. Make your product designed in a manner that you have caught consumer attention for the very first
Very
time.
interesting. Yeah.
And you're holding them onto it then. That's another moat. Look at what Duolingo did. There have been so many apps trying to teach people languages. One of the core points of human knowledge. किसी और की भाषा मुझे सीखनी है. Why did Duolingo succeed where others could not? Design. Rosetta Stone has been along for far longer than Duolingo has been. But Duolingo won. Beautiful design. So there has to be some moat in what you're trying to do. Otherwise, you can expect by the time you figure problems, and even if you don't, eventually there's going to be someone smarter, bigger, with bigger wallets. What do you do then?
I think one of the things that you guys have done well, I don't know if that is your moat or not, is your marketing campaigns and your ad campaigns. So, our team has tried to put across 1-2 videos which we want to show it to you on the screen. And we want your views on that iske piche ka logic kya tha and what was the
Sure.
thought. We have your marketing person also here.
Yeah.
So, I think you can get some assistance from her too. But, we want to put this across and let us know what was your thought behind this campaign और ये कैसे इसको conceptualize किया and why this campaign. Yeah, can we play that?
ഡയപ്പറിൽ മൂത്രം നിറഞ്ഞു ചേട്ടാ മുഴുവൻ നീല എങ്കിൽ ഡയപ്പർ നനഞ്ഞു
നീല എന്നാ നനഞ്ഞേ പുതിയ സ്നഗി ഗോൾഡ് വിത്ത് സുസു മീറ്റർ മുഴുവൻ നീല എങ്കിൽ ഡയപ്പർ
Yeah.
There's a Hindi one also, I guess.
Yes, the right one.
ഡയപ്പറിൽ മൂത്രം നിറഞ്ഞു ചേട്ടാ അത് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എങ്ങനെ അറിയാം അവിടെ നോക്ക് മുഴുവൻ നീല എങ്കിൽ ഡയപ്പർ നനഞ്ഞു
നീല എന്നാ നനഞ്ഞേ
This
You
is
can
on the
put the
English
Hindi one later. Or you can find it right now if it exists. It's there as a part.
Yeah, we'll find.
One of the things we do is we create an ad dubbed in every local language. Because you can't go to a southern
you have
state.
the
Exactly.
distributors, etc. and the
No, not even then. Again,
consumers.
consumer logic.
Yeah.
Speak to them in their own language.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's required. Okay, but I think we got a gist
Yeah,
of
got the
what
gist of
was
it.
being played. So, what was this about? Like, why this one? Ye boat
So
pe ja rahe and all that?
we've always had a wetness indicator for close to 2 decades on the product. No mother knew about it, right? So when we then ended up acquiring this brand Snuggie from Godrej, and this was the brand that my father first distributed for 3 months, which gave the idea for Noble Hygiene, etc. It was a very emotional brand buy. When this came back in our portfolio, we said, okay, we need to push it in an X manner. But the challenge in the baby diaper category remains the same, is how do you advertise against the biggest, best brand in the world, which is Pampers, which is consistently spending upwards of 100 crores every year on TV. And there is another big competitor who's spending the same amount trying to catch up to them. So your communication has to be distinct. That's point one. Point two is we as a challenger brand, it is not our role to expand the size of the market. That's what we do with friends.
Haan.
But for
course.
baby, Like, to
वो market
explain
है.
what a diaper is, that's not our job.
Hmm.
Our job is to build consideration for our brand.
Hmm.
So for a mother who knows what a diaper is, how do you sell our unique proposition very, very differently so she understands? And thus the creative agency who were partners with us, then they came up, we went through 19 different rounds of creatives. And at the end of it, this one stuck with us, and I still wouldn't believe it, right? I said, the situation is too outlandish. And you're going to be rowing boats, and a mother is trying to reach her baby. And why? And in the ad, they say, why faster? Why faster? Because she, from the binoculars, she shows him, see, I can see the wetness indicator and the diaper is full. So I don't want my baby to start crying. So row faster. We have to get to the house. And the concept is just so different and unique that whenever people saw the ad, that it stuck with them, right? Humor sells something perhaps as strongly as fear. So we took the positive way out and we said, okay, let's make a creative that will stick in people's mind, even though you're never going to have the money to run it as many times as a Pampers would. And I think that's where the ad came from. And Kerala, of course, is a homage to, because Snuggie as a brand is from Kerala.
Okay.
Snuggie is the stand-in word for diapers in Kerala. My actually ex-sales head he was in Kerala in market, and he was at a chemist, and a consumer came and stood next to him and said, I want a Snuggie. And he looked to his sales manager, very happy, like, hey, customers here asking for a brand. And the chemist knew what the customer wanted, but because my sales head is there, he can't do jack. So he got a Snuggie diaper and he gave it to him. And the consumer said, no, not this Snuggie, Pampers Snuggie.
Ah.
So for them, diaper means
It's
Snuggie.
Ah, okay.
So then my sales head was like, oh, not our product. When we were speaking, I said, I told you it's a stand-in. I'm happy you had this experience firsthand yourself.
Hmm.
But that's what, that's the strong goodwill that the brand still carries in Kerala.
Hmm. Got it. Do we have another video?
कभी टिप टिप दिन भर कभी बहुत सारा अचानक कभी तो लगता है कि जैसे मैं भी खुल गया हूँ हैवी फ्लो में कोई स्लिम ट्रिप नैपकिन नहीं एक हैवी ड्यूटी पैड चाहिए रियल 3 गुना सोखने वाला हैवी फ्लो के लिए रियल
So this is of course for the sanitary pad of yours.
Correct.
So what is the logic behind this, and then getting Radhika Apte, etc.
Logic was consumer truth. Again, very, very clearly, right? The Snuggie ad was born from the same. So was Rio, and deeply so. Because we tracked sanitary napkins as a category is very analogous to diapering, right? Absorbent hygiene. You're in the same space, same raw materials,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's an
yeah.
easy plug. But did we tracked the category for close to 4-5 years before even figuring, okay, if you want to enter this space, how do you enter this space?
When did you enter sanitary napkin space?
This launch was 2020.
Okay.
So what happened is, after tracking it for so long, again, most problems you see in your own house and you try to iterate. And this came out of my own house, wherein both my wife and my mother were struggling with the right kind of sanitary napkin. And my mother was yelling at me saying, please make sure you get a maternity pad. You're going to the factory. Vapas aate samay. And a maternity pad is a specialized product meant to be worn post-birth. Because after a natural birth, the placenta, all of the blood, etc., everything comes out.
Correct.
No pad can work at that
No
point. So use a
pad.
maternity pad. So I looked at my mom. I'm like, you're using a maternity pad. So what's going on with one of the other classically well available meds? She's like, it's horrible. It doesn't absorb anything. And she was going through menopause. So again, blood flow is erratic and can be a lot. So that was the first thought, saying, yaar, as an absorbent specialist champion of the country, there's so much problem in my own house. I can't even imagine what is going on in elsewhere. Thus, that led to Rio. And thus, we innovated, took 9 different product iterations, came out with the final one. And because we designed a pad for heavy flow, every consumer interaction, everyone's talking about blood. This much blood, this much leak, this much stain, this happened in public, this what happened in the night, this is how I stained my bed. How can you make an honest ad without then talking or showing blood? The entire product is everything to do with blood. So which is why we took the courageous call saying, screw it, we are going to show red blood the way it is supposed to be. Because the only way, again, we are going to be able to grab the right kind of attention and build consideration for the brand is if we reflect consumers' honest reality back at them.
Which I think no one
Which
does.
Is
No one
rare,
shows the
which is
blood,
very
but-
rare. Which even if you follow what we do on Insta for our baby diaper brand Teddy, right? It's a very different perspective from what our normal diapering brands speak. But in any case, so then with Rio, that's how the entire ad came out. When the Radhika's lines of tip tip और कभी ऐसे लगता है पूरा नली खोल दिया है, exact lines from research. This is how women speak about their heavy flow. So we said, let us reflect that reality back at them and show them that we've made a product knowing these things. So it's going to goddamn well work. And of course, with the red blood and all of that was a whole different story with ASCII. We were very proud that me and the team were then able to get this legalized for India.
Okay.
So now India is only one of 3 or 4 countries in which it is legal to show red blood as a part of menstrual advertising. And there have been, again, classically you show blue blood. And a lot of these things, again, though that's professionally, I think that's one of my biggest achievements to date. It wouldn't have been possible unless we had an open mind towards consumers. And as an organization, we had the courage to back that and say, consumers' reality is our reality. And that's how it's going to be.
Got it. You yourself are an investor in quite a few startups, probably 20 plus. What is your investment thesis?
I'm very industry agnostic, and it's very close to your first question of thesis. Defensibility, strong consumer logic, and because this is all seed and angel levels, very strong team. Because
Founding team.
founding team. Pivots are going to happen, consumers are going to change their minds, competitors are going to jump in,
Hmm.
Reliance may jump in. What are you going to do then? So the founding team makes a huge, huge difference. Very simple 3 parameters.
All right. Tell me about your business, right? Your business, of course, has a product which is difficult to get to convince it to the end consumer. So, what are the major challenges that you faced, and how have you solved them while convincing your customers that okay, this is something which they don't know also that they need it, but they actually need it.
Correct.
What has been that the challenges, and how did you solve that?
Frankly, I would then, just to be very honest, right? There has been no year in which we've spent a tremendous amount of money on awareness creation or ATL advertising. All of that's to come now in the next few years. How did we get this far? Is on the back of an extraordinary product. And that was the first step. If this is a very intimate hygiene product, right? What is the counter? What is the flip side of this? That anyone as an individual will have to clean their parents' fecal matter or the urine off of the bed, off of them daily, few times a week. And that's an alternative. That's a reality that brings joy to no one, right? It's at your very lowest point, A, for your parent, and B, for you as a child as well, to be in that situation. So, how do we solve for that? We can't. And one of the first points of research 10 years ago when we did, that line still holds true, which is that your user is the biggest roadblock to your product adoption. जिसको पहनना है वही यूज नहीं कर रहा है, उसको ही बात नहीं करनी है. Mired in stigma. So what do? Again, consumer logic. Stop talking to them. Because if they're not listening to their own family, what makes you think that a brand will step in and convince them? Who do you convince? You convince the caretaker. You convince the family who is concerned about the individual, who is shackled into the same sort of living arrangement. And they are the ones who will invest in a solution for this, knowing that because this is a problem which is mired in shame, maybe the gentleman or the lady is not even open to discussing it. Right?
So it is that customer and consumer wala difference.
Exactly.
So
Or a
customer
buyer
is
or a
someone,
user.
buyer and the user. Yeah.
Which is a parallel in baby diapers as well, right? No baby diaper ad is made for a baby.
The baby.
It's made for the mom. Similarly, after that point in research 10 years ago, we pivoted all our communications saying no more talking to a senior gentleman. We talk to the family. And consistently, you do that in many, many different ways. Try to build awareness at retail level, try to build awareness through digital, try to go the classic way through print. And sooner or later, these compounding effects start to add up.
Got it. With India's FMCG sector is very heavily, dependent on the distribution. Absolutely. Right. But with this onslaught of digital, D2C, etc., quick commerce, e-commerce, do you see the future of legacy brands, being little bit disturbed or something, who have built solely on distribution?
Interesting question. And no, if the legacy brand is strong enough, they will adapt to new distribution paradigms, right? Only one of my favorite lines that I quote very often, right? Your ego is not your amigo. If you're going to be in your own cloud, in your AC cabin, thinking I am the master of this category and मैंने पूरा खड़ा किया है, I know exactly how this is going to work and चुपचाप मेरी बात सुनो, then you're going to be left behind because you're not keeping yourself open to 100 different things that are keep changing in business realities, right? But classically, you have so many other brands who have pivoted so fast. Think of something as simple as Bhujia, and you have Haldiram's, right? And you have Bikaji. And these are now multi-billion-dollar companies selling the most fundamental level of snacks. Were they late to quick commerce? Not really. They pivoted really fast. Were they the first ones in? Possibly not, right? But because for any scaled company, you want to make sure that the channel holds enough merit for you to jump in. Because if you're big enough, even if you put 1 feet, you displace a lot of water. So, and a lot of big brands are doing that now. And in terms of distribution and demand, again, it's an open secret that for quick commerce, Swiggy, Zomato of the likes, your entire TG is limited to an X number of people, right? What is that? 60 million, 80 million people max.
Yeah.
The country is 1.4 billion. And it's going to take decades and decades still for everyone to figure out what is the right route to market to reach product there. Is there a need for an urgency even for most situations? No, right? What is the use case for the few pin codes? And Blinkit's new report came out, right, where they ran a pin code analysis on where majority sales are coming from.
Where was
Even in a city, your affluent zones are driving 60-70% of your demand. So it's less. Yes, of course, there is Blinkit, Instamart, blah, 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 in a Borivali, in a Kandivali, etc. But you put 6-8 of those districts together, one single Ville Parle or Juhu will outdo all of them. So there's a very small percentage of consumers at the top that are driving all of this demand generation. Is that going to upend decades of legacy distribution? Absolutely not. And is this something that can be immediately inverted and fixed in one shot? Again, absolutely not. It's going to take its own sweet time. How many B2B distribution companies have entered saying we are going to digitize this entire process, we're going to change the entire game? How many of them have died, right? Udaan is still one of the only ones I think that
which
is
is
surviving.
which is still loss making.
Still, exactly. There is still significant
It's
burn.
surviving on investors' money.
Correct. As is Zepto, as are most other companies.
Yeah.
But there is where defensibility and moat comes back into play. Yeah, at the end of it, if your unit economics is not making sense from the get-go, right? You're showing some vision, saying that at some inflection point, this is going to turn positive. But if all of that is just burning money for you to reach some notional number of scale, which is disconnected from these 80 million people who are the true consumers that are driving most of this chain, you're never going to get to that point. So
I think these
most
guys
people
are
forget.
making loss because they have to really spread that awareness. They are that market leaders. They have to put in a lot of money to attract customers, give them discounts, give them, multiple vouchers, cashbacks, etc.
And what
So that-
happens when that ends?
That is the big question. When
Correct.
that thing ends, when the party is over, who is going to swim naked?
Exactly.
So that is the
Correct.
the question that, of course, as an investor, it is very important question. And with Zepto coming out with its IPO, etc., for retail investors, this is a very important question. Okay, what is going to happen when you stop the losses?
Correct. Where's the end game? What happens when the dust settles? And no one has a clear idea about that, right? Even from I think Swiggy or Zomato, either one of them's very recent quarterly numbers. What stood out, and I was reading an analysis on it, was that the core business of food delivery has flatlined,
Yeah.
at least in terms of users.
Yeah.
Now it's
They are
just
doing
hovering.
on quick commerce.
They're growing on quick com.
Yeah.
It's going to
Deepinder
take, what,
himself
3
says
years
that, yes.
to max out the quick com side of things as well. Because
Correct.
your app ecosystem is also the same pin code, same everything. Swiggy is still doing a little bit of a courageous move. Now they've reached 100 cities, right? All of the others are holding back there. Now it's going to be a very interesting experiment to see if this is going to generate profit, if this is going to scale, if user behavior change will happen in a tier 2. And that will, I think, that has the biggest potential for this entire category. But again, to say that this is going to completely leapfrog traditional distribution is putting the cart
Yeah,
before the
because I
horse.
think the audience which is there on this quick commerce, etc., is only the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely.
The entire iceberg is under the ocean, which is still into that small pockets, your kirana stores, small chemist shops, small retail shops. I think they shop from there only. I think that's valid.
Like I think Dipinder himself said. I think he said that the sell is convenience. And that is what is driving quick commerce, right? In our own primary research, when we asked consumers for adult diapers, he said, nahi, 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 nahi. Adult diaper hum kyun Blinkit pe kharidenge? I said, kyun nahi, madam? You should. It's easily available. No, no, no. They sell. Why will I buy diapers from the place that I buy vegetables? That makes no sense. Right? Simple, basic consumer insight.
Hmm.
And that is something we always knew, which is why chemists for us are very important. But
Yeah,
diapers will be
chemist
bought
is-
with your medications. Not even in modern trade as much. Your user buying behavior does not match.
Does diaper manufacturing cause pollution?
No.
No, it is eco-friendly.
The product itself is not as eco-friendly, but the manufacturing process has no effluent, no polluting industries, nothing of the sort. We don't even need a PCB list.
But when you dispose a diaper, does that cause pollution?
Yes, diapers are a significant contributor to landfill. But this is the interesting point, right? And because I've been asked this so many times, and even from friends, because they'll use some of these new age brands. So there are two types. One is the one that says organic, is pure greenwashing. Whatever you're putting into it to call it bamboo, it is much worse than what is actually in a genuine diaper. So that is point one. Because bamboo goes through 6 chemical baths to get bamboo viscose out of it. It's also called nylon. You'd rather use wood pulp, which is actual lumber and just one step off what comes out of it. So it's cleaner. So that's step one. Step two is reusable products, correct? To me, it has been blindingly obvious that, and I told this to a friend and she was shocked and she came back to me after 24 hours. I said, Mansi, did you ever consider the water cost of this? And she said, what do you mean water cost? I said, ek to we are privileged enough to have a maid to do all this cleaning for you. How many times you're cleaning out this pad? Kitte bar sook raha hai? Every susu pe you're changing this. How much water is being wasted? And then she was quiet. Like no one thinks of this, right? And we are sitting in Mumbai. Maharashtra, there are enough stories of children traveling 2 hours by train one way, getting 2 buckets of water and going back to their village. Is this the environment in which you're going to scale reusable diapers? Absolutely not. And even with diapers going into landfill, there have been tremendous solutions that have come from other countries. But like I said, this is systemic solve. We as a manufacturer can't be expected to go up, set up now reharvesting facilities and get back the granules and then go make roads with it. We are happy to do it as a collective. But this is somewhere like even the government has to step in, and we're happy to work with the government for this. In the UK, for example, they've made roads which are made from diapers and used diapers and sanitary napkins.
A road.
A road, because there are ways to remove the dirt of it, and then
Wow.
whatever plastic components are left are then shredded, turned into granules, and then they go into making roads. And a plastic topped road has no wear and tear, as something we would love in Bombay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, that's quite innovative.
Yeah. And there's stuff that we are working on as well. Hopefully in 6 months, fingers crossed.
Okay, something on these lines.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. We would be waiting for that. Last segment of this, right? So this is a game that we want to play with you, and it is a game on entrepreneurship, right? So I'm going to give you 3 product ideas. All right. I'm not going to tell you what's next, but I'm just giving you 3 product ideas. Choose one idea. Okay. The first one is an AI powered matchmaking service, right? Second, a street food brand selling gourmet dhoklas. Okay. And the third one, a subscription based car sharing service. Choose any one of them.
As an investor, as a consumer, as an entrepreneur.
As an entrepreneur.
As an entrepreneur.
Then I'll tell you what you have to do with that idea.
I'll choose the first one.
An
AI
AI
powered
powered
matchmaking
matchmaking
service.
service. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you 4 quick questions on this particular idea. You have to come up with an answer. And these 4 questions, we need to get it within 60 seconds.
Okay.
All right. First question, what's your hypothesis for the problem that you're solving?
That there are that normal solutions cannot account for all the variables that go into matching people up effectively, and most current existing services tap out at either aesthetics or your top two likes / hobbies. but there are ranges and spectrums underneath that an AI would be able to effectively mine and draw some cool insights and genuinely have some good matchmaking.
Okay, makes sense. Who's your target audience? Like little more specific. Of
Yes.
course, people who want to get married, but
No,
more
of course not people who won't get
or
married.
just married, but who want to date or something.
Someone from a 17 years of age to a 26 becomes a TG, highly urban, doesn't need to be educated. Urban because density of people is higher in urban areas.
Wonderful breakdown of that, TG. I think every founder needs to analyze this when they are figuring out their idea. So I think that's very interesting. What would be your unique positioning of this product? 60 seconds khatam ho gaya bhai.
Acha, सबके लिए 60 थे, all 4 in 60. Damn, my bad, that's hard. Unique positioning would be a no-brainer approach. Let the AI be
मतलब-
the brain.
अच्छा.
नो मैच, नो नथिंग. आप आपका लाइफ जियो, हम आपके Pinterest से, Facebook से, Insta से आपका लाइक्स और आपका प्रोफाइलिंग कर लेंगे. We will send you on 2 dates a week. खत्म.
Oh, interesting. That's very interesting. What marketing channel would you prioritize first?
Instagram.
Okay.
Top funnel always.
Always. All right, that makes sense. So, with this, we wrap up the podcast. I think very good insights on your sector, of course, which you have and which we wanted to get it out. And in general, on entrepreneurship, I think this last segment is going to be really the tip of the iceberg, which is, for every new founder or a student or someone who wants to start their own business,
Correct.
very interesting answers that you gave, and which is, I think, coming off from your experience. It will be really helpful to the viewers, to the audience who's going to listen to this.
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
So wonderful to have you here. Thanks a lot, Karthik bhai. I think interesting this first episode is going to be. Had great time chatting with you. Yeah, I think that's good. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Karthik.
Devansh. It was
Thank
a
you.
true pleasure. Like I said, privileged to be the first one. Hope we kick off this. And I'm very excited to see what the other guests on the show have to answer with the entrepreneurship question.
For everyone, there are different games in the last.
Oh, K-Cas. All right. Fun. Sounds good.
Thanks
you
a
so
lot,
much.
Karthik.
It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.